Hey guys, it's Marina with Artworthy Life, where I teach Christ-centered art journaling that gets you into God's Word every day. And welcome to day 5 of our October Doodle A Day challenge. Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here and joining us. Yesterday, we did our Doodle A Day as a really cute little deer with some leaves. If you missed that, I hope you'll go back and watch the replay. And I hope that you have already downloaded the tracer for today. Hey, Pam on Instagram, and hi, Bonnie on Facebook. That's really awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. And tell me how many of you leave me a deer in the comments if you finished the little deer doodle a day. I hope that you all got a chance to do that and follow along with us there. Hi, Terry. Thanks for watching on Facebook. And hello, Leslie Ann, also on Facebook. I'm so glad you're here. So again, I'm juggling technology. I got 3 things going at the same time. If you don't know, I'm broadcasting to Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube all at the same time. Check me out, learning technology. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and flip Instagram around. I know you people on Facebook and YouTube can already see, so let me give Instagram a good view of our page today, and then we will go ahead and get started. But before I do that, I know you know where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with some scripture this morning, which is always the best place to start in the Word of God. And so we've been reading through the Sermon on the Mount, and we just got through the Beatitudes and just a little bit more about the light being the light of Christ. And now we're going to start with, we're going to start with verse 17. So this is Matthew chapter 5, and I'm going to read from verses 17 through 20. So if you want to follow along there. And while you're listening, please go ahead and share this with anyone you think would enjoy it, because we're going to be doing an entire doodle demo again today, and it's a really cute one. I hope you guys have downloaded the tracer. Oh, Leslie Ann did the deer yesterday. Pam did the deer as well. All right, today our doodle is going to be a basket of apples. And you guys all said baskets of this, baskets of that. And I was like, you guys, this is such a good idea. So I'm doing a basket of apples. So just so you know, if you want to see something, just leave it in the comments. I might do it. So make sure you leave it in the comments, because it's very possible I will pick it. You guys come up with some great ideas. So if there's anything you want to try, if you're excited about the apples, leave an apple emoji in the comments if you can find one. Alrighty, we're going to read from Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Alrighty, heavy stuff here, but you got to read the whole Sermon on the Mount, because that is just the beginning. He's got to give you a taste of that so that the good news sounds so good. And isn't that good news that whoever does and teaches the Word of God is going to be great in the kingdom of heaven? I just think that's so awesome. Pam's excited for today's doodle. Bonnie is excited for today's doodle. I am so excited. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and flip Instagram around so they can see. You Facebook and YouTube people can see me holding my phone over here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this one around, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Anita. Good morning. Let me see if I can get this the right way for you guys. Alrighty, Instagram. Make sure you guys tell me if you can see this little piece of paper here. And we're going to make sure that there's enough room for everybody. It was very interesting to try to figure this out yesterday, I'm so glad I eventually kind of got it worked out. So I think, you guys tell me, but I think you both can see, right? Oh, maybe just a little bit over on Facebook. How about that? Alrighty. Bonnie says she's on the Artworthy Life page. Oh, she's answering Anita's question. So the doodle is posted today already. It's this little apple basket. Let me cut this out so it's smaller so I can show you guys. We're going to trace this first. Thank you all for being on. Hey, Miss Leslie, thanks for watching. You will like today's doodle just based on what we did yesterday. I didn't even think about it. It's not based on what we did. I had it in mind already from a suggestion from several people. But look what we're doing today. Ta-da! Okay, Facebook, is your picture clear enough? Are you guys seeing that well enough? I know it's just maybe slightly blurry. I'm not sure if that's just the camera or what, but hopefully you guys can see that. So Anita, yeah, go back onto the Facebook page and you can click the link in the comments underneath that post. So if you see this tracer on Facebook, it's in the comments of that post. So just click the link that I put there. And anybody who's on Instagram who doesn't already have this tracer, go ahead and go to my bio on Instagram and you can download it in that link there. So it's right there where you can get to it. Okay, I'm going to grab some graphite paper and we're going to trace this while all the social medias are telling everybody that I'm live. And again, we're just using graphite paper. We're putting the pigment side down on the page. And then I'm just going to line it up with the edges. And then I'm going to center up this little doodle on the page so it's pretty much center. Now, the tracer that I gave you guys actually is going to end up a little bit bigger because I zoomed in because I thought, man, this is a little bit small. So mine's a little smaller than yours probably will be, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just going to center it up on the page and it'll be cute anyway. Like I said yesterday, I like to do a mechanical pencil because it has a nice fine tip and because I can see where I've already traced. So I'm just going to trace real lightly around all these edges. And even though I freehanded this, you know, I've had people ask, well, if you're the one drawing it, why don't you just draw it straight on the watercolor paper? And that's a really good question. The reason is because as I'm sketching these drawings out ahead of time, a lot of times I'm doing a lot of erasing and I'm, you know, adjusting or changing. I added the bow afterwards, which meant I had to do some erasing. And when you do that on watercolor paper, it kind of damages the paper a little bit. You know, it leaves little bits of pencil graphite stuff on the page, and it just makes it so that when you paint, you're not painting a nice fresh page. So I actually recommend, even if it's your original drawing that you're wanting to paint and you're sketching it out ahead of time, I usually recommend that you draw it out on another page anyway and go ahead and still do some kind of tracing or use a light box or something like that to trace your design on, because then you're not doing all of your erasing on your good watercolor paper. You're doing it ahead of time, getting your sketch down, and then it's nice and pretty on really good paper. All right, let me take a peek. Okay, looks like it transferred. And I know that's really light for you guys, but hopefully you can still see that that tracer is there. Let's see what else. Leslie's saying hi from Vinita, Oregon. Say hello from where you're watching from. Thank you for doing that. Anita says she's going to do hers after, but she's going to continue to watch. Oh, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, so good. Let me tilt this just a little bit more. Looks like Facebook is having a hard time seeing. Whoops. Sorry, Instagram. All righty. I'm going to try to make sure nobody falls on their face today. Yesterday, I went funk with the whole thing. I thought, oh, no. So again, I'm using the Komorebi watercolor set from Mozart, and I'm using my little tiny brushes. This is what they look like. That's the size we're going for. Here's my hand for comparison. So little tiny brushes, round tip. And then we're going to go ahead and stick with some of the same color schemes. So let me just give you guys a review if you haven't been following along. Here's day one of our Doodle A Day challenge. Let me do it this way. Here's day one. We had some browns and tan and green. And day two, we had some red and orange and brown. That red is more like a rust color. Then on day three, we had some teal that we incorporated, which I was very excited about. Obviously, that's one of my favorite colors. And then we had a deer yesterday that I really enjoyed. So kind of going along with those same color schemes, we're gonna incorporate some reds and browns and oranges today. Tomorrow will be the day we add teal in again. Leslie left a grape and an apple and it looks like a juice and a basket. Those are cute emojis. Thank you. I like the truck too. Thank you. Alrighty, so that is the inspiration for the color scheme today. So we're going to start, make sure you have a clean jar of water and a jar of water that you can use for cleaning. So they'll both start off clean, but basically one of them is for washing your brushes and one of them is for getting clean water. And we're going to start with the lightest colors again. So we're going to start with the basket. And the basket is going to be the number 52 brown in my palette, mixed with a little bit of orange and yellow to kind of lighten it up. But I'm just going to use my larger brush and put a nice quick guys, give me just 1 second. I need to mute myself and check on something that's going on outside. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to make sure that everything is okay. Let's see. Okay. Hello, everybody. Sorry I had to pop out for just a second. We had noise going on outside, and I work from home, so I'm always aware of everything that's going on in the house, and my family comes absolutely first. So just making sure everybody is okay. So far, so good. So thank you for being patient. All right, here we go. We're gonna get going back again. Thank you for waiting for just a half a second, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint in the tan color here, and we're gonna just start with the basket. Now you may not be able to tell from the tracer, but I left some gaps in this basket. Hi Bonnie, she's watching on Instagram. How fun. Thanks, Miss Leslie. Thank you, Tammy. I had it up in a bun today, my hair. So we're gonna paint in the little rims of this basket around like that, and then we're going to paint in like the little slats that go vertically. So they are spaced out enough that you can actually see the apples inside the basket. And if you get a little confused about where they are, just keep your tracer nearby, like the actual tracer that you traced from, and you'll be able to see those apples that you can see in the background. So just kind of keep that nearby so you can tell where the lines are. A lot of times after you've traced, sometimes the image starts to kind of go away, but we're just going to fill that in and go ahead and paint in all the ridges on the edges here, and that will give us the base coat for the basket. Now notice I'm not painting it all the way in perfectly dark and everything, but I am getting most of the color down because you want to give it a good initial sweep of color before you start adding all the other layers. Oh, Dad's watching. Hi, Daddy. I'm so glad you're watching. Okay, so yeah, can you tell what we're painting? I don't know if you were on earlier, but see if you can tell what it is already. I'm not sure if you can see very well on your end. I'm going to try to make sure the camera is clearer for Facebook and YouTube, but hopefully everybody can see well enough to follow along. Alrighty, what's fun is I actually have a little apple, and I'll try to put it underneath the Instagram camera so you can see it too, but I actually have a little apple with me as inspiration. This is a smitten apple with a little leaf on it for inspiration for color, but see that transition of color? And I'm going to give Instagram a quick peek. See this apple? How it transitions from that red? I know it's like super big in your screen, sorry. And here's a little leaf. But basically, it's got two different, Scott, do you like my grammar? It has two different colors of red and kind of a yellowy green on it. And I really love it. I think it's really cute, and it's perfect for today's painting. So the apples in this basket are going to have that similar orangey red color going on. Yes, Dad, it's an apple basket. Good. I'm glad you can tell on your end. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my yellow, and it's gonna be the brilliant yellow with I think I'm just gonna use straight yellow, but water it down quite a bit. So brilliant yellow is in that palette. We're gonna start with the yellows while the brown is drying. And then we're just gonna put the yellow on each of these little apples. And I'm not going to paint them all the way in. I want them to have a little white space left behind. Now, that's a little brighter than I actually wanted. Most of my colors up to this point in the palette, up to this point in each of the projects have not been that yellow. So I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of yellow ochre, which is a slightly tan color, and lighten my color quite a bit so that my yellow is a little bit more sunny and less harsh. Okay, and then I'm going to put that yellow all on all of these little apples. And I'm leaving a little bit of white space where the core of the apple is, but not a ton, just a little bit. Okay, so see how that's a little bit warmer of a yellow? You can get all those nice and wet. And then I'm putting a little bit of yellow down in the apples that are in the basket. You can tell there's a few apples kind of down in the basket showing. Okay, now we're going to get some red. This red's going to still be that rusty red. It's not going to be a true red, but it won't matter. Won't matter that it's not true red. Your eye will still know, oh, that's an apple. Okay, so we're going to go put some red on one side of each of the apples as if they've kind of ripened on just one side like that. We can just touch some of these because they're already wet, so they're gonna have a nice transition into yellow without too much of our help. And if your apple isn't still wet, you'll have to wet it again before you add your red. That way it fades in easier. And if you'll notice, I'm using brush strokes that follow the curve of the apple. And just almost like a parentheses shape, like a curve kind of brush stroke. Same with these down here. Same with this down here. All right. We can kind of let each of these fade in. And then I can kind of blur out the edges just a little bit as each of these apples start to dry a little. So I can kind of push the pigment out to the outside. So see how that transitions? Then it's like red with this real strong yellow on the other side. Terry says, oh, Dad says, now I want apple pie. And Terry says, me too. Tammy says, it was old and I was cleaning the cabinet where she says something about at the center, I had a black paint pen explode and got all over me. Oh no, it was old and she was cleaning the cabinet where we keep the paints. Oh, how sad. I hope you're able to maybe retrace it and do it again because that is so, so sad and disappointing. I just realized I didn't paint the little yellow apples in the front of this, or red and yellow apples in the front of this. So I'm going to put the little apples in front with some golden yellow, and that's the same brilliant yellow mixed with yellow ochre, a nice golden yellow. And then I'm going to switch to my smaller brush for these in front because I want them to actually come out a little bit more crisp. And I'm just going to touch the side with my smallest brush, kind of let that red fade into the yellow like that. Fade into the yellow like that. And see how the watercolor just naturally blends that color together? Isn't that nice? So the watercolor is just going to do that job for me. I don't have to really work on it. It blends in really nicely on its own. Now this little apple over here, you might notice, is not blending right away, and that's because it's already dry. So I'm just going to touch it with yellow again to make sure the apple is wet before I go in with the red. And then I'm going to come in with my brush and do some quick little red brush strokes on one side of the apple. See that? That blends in a lot quicker. And see how small these apples are? They are going to be really kind of not super detailed. For some reason, Facebook is not looking like it has as clear a picture as Instagram has, and I'm not sure why that is. But hopefully you guys are able to see anyway. Normally that picture is a little clearer. Okay, give me just a second. I'm going to see if I can back you guys up just a little bit. Is that clear for Facebook and YouTube? All right, Instagram, I'm going to give you your little spot back. Okay, thanks for being patient as I'm juggling all of these. I think maybe it's just because I am so close to the picture. Who knows? All right, so we're going to come in with red again as we're adding layers to these little apples. And so I'm using the same crimson, number 17, red. And we're just going to do some quick stripes kind of coming down side of the apple here. We'll do that on each of these apples to give them just a little bit more going all around. And this apple's kind of on its side, so it's going to have the stripes going a slightly different way. And these apples really do have like little stripes kind of coming up and down the sides of them. So you can kind of look at a picture of an apple. I'm going to turn my page so I can do these brush strokes around the edges like that. See? And then these ones in the back don't have to be as detailed because they're in the back like that, but I'm just going to add a little bit more to them so they're more visible. Same with this apple, it's on its side, so the stripes are going to go a different direction. You can kind of just keep an eye on your tracer to see which way the apples are facing. You'll be able to see where to put the red and where to put the yellow. So do you see that it's coming together pretty well? Does anybody have apples they're harvesting right now that I don't already know about? You have apple trees or other fruit that you're harvesting right now? Would be fun. What would be fun is for you guys to take a photo of it in a pretty little basket and post it. It'd be fun to see everybody's harvest for the year. All right, I'm getting a little bit of yellow mixed together and a little bit of orange. And now I'm going to kind of go on the other side of these apples and give them a little bit more shape on the right-hand side. And that's using my number 10 orange and my number 3 brilliant yellow. And so it's just going to fill in the right-hand side of these apples, give them more shape, and help your eyes see them a little better. So just kind of outlining each of these. And then you can come up underneath these ones, and they can actually be a little bit darker if you think about it. They're underneath the other apples, so they're going to be more shaded. Miss Leslie says, it's so nice you're an expert apple pie maker, Tony. Yes, I know. He is tempting us with apple pie. We have so many apples to make it out of that yeah, it's got to be the next thing on the list. One year we went to our family reunion, and of course we just love his pie. So we were like, you realize he used to work for Marie Callender's and he makes excellent pie. And we're just kind of bragging on him. And of course, one of my family members is like, man, I'd really like you to make me a pie. And he's like, well, okay, I can make you one. Well, of course, we're talking to other people and they hear about it too. So Mom's like, oh, he can make you a pie. And pretty soon, Mom, and I don't know how it happened. I don't know if we did it or I don't know. I think I was little, so I don't remember being me. But I think Mom and Dad collectively promised about 12 pies to different family members and friends. And all of a sudden we had this list of people and this huge task of making all of these pies fresh to deliver to everybody, which ended up actually being really fun. But we will never live it down. And like, okay, so before we offer pie to people, we need to check with Dad and make sure he's up for making pie. Because there was a lot of pies being given away that year. And that's what everybody got for Christmas was apple pie. Lots and lots of apple pie. And he made fresh crust that year. He made his own crust, which I know that's like standard for some people. Is not always standard for us. It's not for me at least. Anyway, but he makes great crust. And he considered not making fresh crust that year because there were so many people. But he did. He made it. Miss Leslie says, we have a giant, old, and very prolific apple tree with 2 varieties of delicious apples I'm getting ready to juice. Yes. So good. Yeah, your apples are amazing, too. I think homegrown apples are usually better in general, but like some are just unbelievably yummy. We have a teeny tiny apple tree in our backyard, and most of the time, just our friendly little deer get to enjoy those. We'll go out there and we'll look, and there's like, a handful, maybe 10 apples on the tree, and then the next day they're gone. And you're like, okay, well, I guess the deer ate well yesterday. To this year, though, it looks like there's quite a bit more. They're starting to fall off the tree now, so we'll have to go back there and see if they're ready to be used up. All right, right now I'm adding a little bit of red where the dimple of the apple is. So if you look on the tracer, there's these little dimples at the top of the apple. And that's where I'm putting a little bit of shadow, and I'm using red to do that. So I'm using that rusty red, which is red mixed with orange and brown. And it's the same red I've been using for the apples. And so I'm just going to use that to kind of touch in wherever the dimple is on the apple, kind of at the top of it, and that'll give the apple just a little bit more shape. It'll make your eye go, oh, there's something going on there. A little bit there, and a little there, and a little there. And it really doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit to give it extra shape. And then I'm going to keep going a little bit darker. You guys know I like to layer, layer, layer. Even with these small paintings, layers are essential, and they add so much. So I'm going to add some more crimson and a tiny bit, not a lot, but a tiny bit of brown just to darken up that crimson because I'm wanting it to be deeper. I'm going to create a little bit of shadows. Ooh, and the other thing I need to do is put some more shadow in the apples that are kind of inside the barrel. I'm going to start with those actually and do a little bit of outlining. These are not very visible, these little apples in here, so they don't need a lot, just enough to make it like, oh, okay, there's something in the basket. Your eye is looking at some color instead of just blobs in the inside of the basket. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to my rusty red with a little bit more brown added to it to darken it up. And that's what I'm going to use to outline each of these little apples on one side. And most of all, what we're doing now is creating shadow between the apples so that they look like different shapes. So on that one side especially, we're just adding a little bit of darker red. Sorry, I'm talking really slowly. It's like I gotta hold my mouth right to paint this. Gotta hold my mouth right. Okay, so on the left side of this apple here, I'm gonna do a little bit there. On the left side of this apple, on the little dimple, like that. See, that's not super, super complicated, but look how much more down to each apple. And now, of course, we don't want it to look like a crisp outline. So I'm gonna come back in and kind of fade that stuff into the rest of the apple because we don't want it to look like a cartoon, like we just traced it. So I'm going to take a slightly wet brush and a little bit of that red and pull it up into the rest of the apple a little better like that. Okay, and then I can come back with a slightly wet brush that's clean and just kind of brush along the left side of the apples there, and that'll give it a little bit more shape. That's pretty good right there. I do want to do some on the apples in the front. Tammy Turner says apple dumpling. Miss Leslie says, I rarely see fresh crust anymore, but we love to make them, so pie is a big job for us. I am getting motivated, though. Yes, I think making pie, just the process of making it is such a fun holiday activity if you can get everybody like on board to do it. If you do just if you do it just by yourself, it's not near as fun, and you're just kind of doing it for the task of getting it done. But if you're doing it with everybody, it's actually like a holiday activity, which can be really fun. Okay. And Tammy says, can you do a bowl of candy corn? Well, I can definitely add it to the list. Thank you for the idea. That is a great idea. I know I've seen some people doing some candy corn artwork already because it is so iconic for this time of year. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more dark red to these front apples because they're more visible. And I think I'm gonna go in, it's just like layers and layers. You can just go and go and go. But as your eye looks at this, it can see more of the areas that need a little bit more color. So I like to just kind of let my eye rest a little and come back and look and then go, oh, I can add a little bit more there. And when we did the pumpkins, you guys remember doing the pumpkins in the truck just a couple days ago. And when we did those, you may remember we put some shadows between the pumpkins as well. And that really helped the pumpkins be separated from each other. And so that's kind of what we're doing with these shadows now. And I'm actually going to even add a tiny bit of black to my red to darken it up. And I'm going to come in really small, do some teeny tiny shadows between the apples. Give them just a little bit more separation. I do not want a lot of this though, because this painting is so light and bright and happy that I don't want to add too much dark color. Okay, and then I can just add a little bit of that inside the basket between the other apples there. And it doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't have to be crazy dark, just a little. And then one thing I can do is use this to outline the edges of the basket. That'll create a shadow kind of on the edges of those kind of crate slat things, the little wooden slats. And then when we go to paint those in, they'll look even more crisp. So still using that red mixed with black. Again, my black is almost never true black, so it's red mixed with black. And just painting in kind of the open spaces in that basket so that they have some shadow, which makes sense because they're kind of down in the basket like that. Okay, I'm going to make this a straighter line. So see how I use that to kind of emphasize the edges of the basket a little bit? Just like that. Ta-da! Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the brown of the basket. Look at these apples, guys. Hey, Aunt Emmy, I'm so glad you're watching. Welcome. And hi, Tammy. Oh, Tammy also says cornstalk with pumpkins. That's a great idea. Anybody who's watching on Instagram, tell me where you're watching from. And if anyone happens to be watching on YouTube, make sure you say hello. I like to see who we've got on. Alrighty, we're going to use the same 52 brown. I'm going to pull that over into my palette and start using that to add some brown to our basket. Okay, so I'm just gonna stay with this round brush, this smaller round brush. Sorry for the ding. Got too many devices going at the same time, so they're making noises that the other ones can hear. Okay, so this is going to be our first layer of brown on these little baskets. And we're going to follow the angle of the baskets while we do these lines. So as these slats are going down, we're going to follow them downward and create kind of that wood grain like that. And then as these are going down, we're going to go downward. And these ones downward. And even this one over here on the left-hand side by the ribbon, don't forget there's one there. And then these parts of the basket are going around. So my brush strokes are going to go sideways as we paint that in. And I'm just going to kind of be sort of stripey with these because they don't need to be colored all the way in since we already have one layer of tan underneath filling that all in. So look how that makes it kind of wood looking, kind of like wood. Hi, Twyla. Thanks for watching. She says a scarecrow. And Tammy says she'll send me a picture. Okay, sounds great. Yeah, Twyla, scarecrow is a great idea. I think we've had that one requested before, so that one's getting higher up on the list. Keep sending me ideas, you guys. If you think of anything that you would enjoy seeing, this painting today was upon request, so I love to give you guys what you're asking for rather than me just painting whatever I feel like. So if you come up with something and you think you want to see it, make sure you leave it in the comments. It's very possible I will paint it. So please do that. Okay, so I'm going to come in with the same brown we were using and just darken it up with a little bit of black. So I've got kind of black and brown mixed together on my brush. And this one little piece of wood looks like it's at a weird angle, so I'm going to try to straighten it out using this black. There we go. That looks a little better. Looks a little less strange. And then I like to, up underneath the edges where wood is connected, I like to create a little shadow. So see that shadow? That's going to make sure that top piece of wood looks like it's separate from the next piece of wood. And then I can kind of make the wood grain right up underneath that edge a little darker. See that shadow? Okay. Tammy says that's so pretty. Oh, thank you so much. Is the picture clear for you guys who are watching on Facebook? I'm looking at it on my screen and it doesn't look super clear. So tell me if it's clear to you guys. I think on Instagram it looks clear. You guys on Instagram tell me if that's correct, if it looks clear to you. Okay, so I'm going to give a good little border right here as well between those two pieces of wood like that. Just kind of creating shadows where it makes sense. Like the wood's going to kind of overlap itself, so we need a little bit of shadow. Okay, I'm going to turn this sideways. These sideways brush strokes are much better if my hand is up and down. Like I always say, make your hand comfortable. If your hand isn't comfortable, the result of your painting is not going to be near as good because you're fighting your own hand at the same time. Instagram is really clear. Anita says not really clear, but it will be all right. Okay, well, I think we can maybe work on that because that doesn't seem... Jim said it's so clear that he can see your ear. Oh, man, he's such a hoot. Okay. Is he talking about the image of my face or is he talking about the image of the apples? That's the one I'm talking about. That's funny. Okay, I'm going to get this little shadow around the edge of this basket to make the edge of the basket a little bit clearer. I'm glad Instagram is very clear. How about YouTube people or Facebook people? Tammy's saying, or Anita's saying, not super clear. tell me for you guys if it's clear or not. For some reason it doesn't look as clear as it normally does. It normally looks a lot more crisp than that. Okay, we're just giving it a little shadow up underneath that edge, like that. I'm gonna add a little bit more black because I've got black going on already. I want to make sure I do incorporate that throughout. And you don't always have to have the black all the way around. Like it can just barely touch a few pieces of the wood like this. I do want to come up underneath the basket as well. Give that a good line. If your brush starts to drag along the page, that's when it's time to pick it back up, clean it off, get a little bit more pigment, make sure it's the right moisture, and then come back. So if it starts to drag, it will end up making not so crisp of a line. You want your line nice and crisp, so feel free to clean the brush again, get some more pigment, redo it. That's what you see me doing when I'm away from the page with my brush. I am cleaning it again, getting it reloaded with paint again, however you want to say that, and then coming back to the painting. Using the same brown to kind of shade the apples, as you can see here. Give them a little bit more shape. Maybe come in between some of these. Seems weird to just put a little black between, but if you had a pile of apples, there would be little shadows down in between them like that. So that's where you want to emphasize those darker colors. Even down here in the basket, we can put some shadow down here by the wood. Okay, so just following around all of those. And then you want to step back every once in a while and go, okay, is it good enough? Is it there? This is still a doodle, you know, and it's pretty much, it's getting there. All right, so there's my basket. And what I'm going to do now is the little ribbon. So if you'll remember from day 2, we had this little ribbon with plaid on it. So I'm going to kind of use that ribbon. I'm going to leave it here kind of upside down so you guys can see it. I'm going to kind of use this part of the umbrella as inspiration for the ribbon. So I know that's really small, but I really want to see if I can at least mimic the colors of the ribbon, if not the brilliance of it. And so I'm going to start with brilliant yellow mixed with orange as a base and lighten it up quite a bit. So it's going to be more like a tan orange color. We'll start with that as a base. Fill in this little ribbon. Like so. And it is really small, so we probably won't be able to do like a full plaid, but we'll see what we can do. Just kind of wanted to make those two paintings coordinate, if possible. Okay, we're going to let that dry. And, oh, Tammy says, oh, Twyla says Facebook is blurry to her too. Okay. So let's see, what can we do for Facebook? So Instagram, hang tight real quick while I'm working on Facebook's camera, Facebook and YouTube. I'm pulling back a little bit to see if that actually makes it clearer. So see if that actually looks clearer even though it's further away. Is that clearer of an image? Possibly. And Tammy says, we found out the trip to your place will take 54 hours because Tammy is considering coming out to Oregon. We will see about that. That would be fun. She says, about 3 days of traveling to see you. Yay, that would be amazing. Yeah, and Tammy, tell Leslie Hansen where exactly you live again. She's wondering, I think. Okay, let me make sure this is totally plugged in. There we go. Okay, tell me you Facebook people and YouTube people if that's a little bit clearer for you. Okay. Sorry, coming back on Instagram. There we go. Hopefully you can all see. Alrighty. What we're going to do now is, now that that's dry, as you can see that has dried, and we want to kind of mimic this little umbrella shape, we are going to use my smallest brush and come in with some stripes. And the first one is going to be an orange color. I'm going to start with my number 10 orange. And I got to get it pretty wet, but I don't want it dripping, but I certainly don't want it watery. So just kind of a nice wet, almost like an ink texture or consistency. So we're just going to do stripes, little stripes on this ribbon like that, going this way first, and then going kind of diagonal on the inside of the ribbon like that. So you can tell there's an inside of the ribbon right there that needs to be at a different angle so that it shows its different part. Then we got ribbon hanging down. And if this is too small for you guys, use a pen or something. You don't have to use a brush. I'm going to do these stripes going down as well, like that. We got a little bit of a knot in the center, and I can do 2 little stripes there. Alrighty. I know that's super tiny, but I just had to try it. I had to give it a shot, you know? You don't know till you try. All right, and then I'm going to use my red burgundy color. Well, I should say crimson, which I've turned into rusty color with a little bit of brown. Let's see, Twyla says, it was only clear when you got too far away for a bit. It's about the same now. Okay, so maybe I'm wondering if I should back up again. And I know that's kind of far for you Facebook people, but it's worth it if you can see it clearly, even if it is smaller. So tell me if that's a little bit better for you guys. Maybe. I know, I'm just trying to move things around for you guys. Alrighty, so we've got this orangey color down, and now I'm going to put in that more rusty color, and that's crimson mixed with number 52 brown pretty much, and then, you know, like a little tiny bit of orange. But basically, I'm just kind of mixing them all together. Okay, Anita says that's better. Okay, good. Alrighty, and then I need just a little bit on the tip of my brush to make sure my brush is nice and fine on the tip, and we're going to go perpendicular to those lines and create some stripes this way. And I'm basically wanting to have sort of a, whoops, I guess I did those stripes the wrong direction. Oh well. And then these ones, it's so small it won't matter, but I wanted to give it a pattern. You almost can't tell the difference between the 2 colors, so I guess it doesn't matter. You could do them all red if you wanted to. Okay, so there's my little stripey, and now you can tell the ribbon isn't very defined, so I need to give it some good edges so our eyes can see it. So to do that, I'm going to use red, that rusty red, and darkened up with a little bit of brown, and I'm just going to outline all the edges of it. And I can leave some of that white space there just for fun, to keep it looking bright and cheerful. I do want to outline pretty much all the edges of this ribbon, basically anywhere the tracer lines were, so that it's very visible. But it can be very, very fine lines, and probably should be pretty fine lines. So, and it can also be a lighter color. But because there's a pattern, it needs some help breaking it apart from the rest of the painting. I'm just going to kind of draw the points of that. So if you can look at your tracer here, you can see the shape of the ribbon, and then just kind of look at that as your guide as you're painting it in, and that will give you an idea of where to put your lines. You can kind of just fill those in, but isn't that better than just a red ribbon or something? Oh, Tammy says Jim has been to Oregon. And Tammy is asking, how is our spring over here? Well, rainy. Rainy, and then, it just starts to warm up. And I would say, like, my birthday is usually not quite warm enough to do things outside, and my birthday's in March. So probably really starts to warm up middle of the summer. It kind of depends on what you're going for. But yeah, the spring is still rainy here. Okay, so I see how I'm adding shadow to the edges of that. Then I'm going to come in with just a little bit of black mixed in with the colors I'm already using, so it's not straight black, but pretty much black and red kind of. And then that's what I'm going to use to touch the inside of the ribbon, give it some good shadow. The edges of the tightest parts of the ribbon where it's all tied together. It's going to create more shadow, especially where it's hanging in front of the basket. And up here at the top area. Like that. Filling all that in. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Alrighty. I think I'm going to leave that like it is. Well, I could put just a little bit. I always say that, and then I'm like, oh, I could add a little more. I could add a little more. A little bit of shadow under here. I'm just going to give this piece of wood a little bit more shadow. I just want to look at the ribbon and go, okay, is the ribbon the darkest thing there? If so, I need to carry that around a little bit more. But that's looking really good. Okay, so one thing I didn't do that I meant to do at the beginning is give one or two of the little apples a stem and a leaf, which I didn't end up adding any leaves to them, so I guess I'll just add a stem. But here's the stem for one of the apples. You can just kind of give it a little broken branch stem right there, and then we can give another one right there. Like that. So a couple of them have little branches. Alrighty, and that's all we're gonna do. Leslie says May would be great. Okay, so she's saying for the Oregon weather. Yeah. Alrighty, so that is all we're gonna do today. You could obviously add a lot more layers, but I want to make sure you guys are sticking with something you can get done in one setting. Feel free to add as many layers as you want or as few as you want, but this is all we have for today. Thank you all so much for joining me, everyone who is watching on all of the social medias. Thank you again. If you didn't get the tracer, make sure you get that in the description of this video. I think it's in the description. I'm pretty sure. Check the description of this video. If you didn't see it in the description on Instagram, you can click on the link in my bio, and on Facebook and YouTube, you can click on it in the comments of the last post that I made. Leslie said, oh, I'm missing some comments. Sorry. Twyla says May or early June, not hot, but also no fires and no smoke yet. Yes, that's true. Leslie Hansen also says flowers starting in February. Oh, and she says, Marina, when you were helping us with Mr. Wayne, we were outside a lot in March, April, and May. That's true. That's true now that I think of it. We did have a really warm summer this year and a lot less rain. So yeah, it may be true that that's a better time to come. Tammy is asking if I can make them smaller. So are you asking about like zooming in like this? Is that helpful? Hopefully. Hopefully that's what you meant. There you go. I'll just hold that up for a few more seconds. And so make sure you do download the tracer because it changes every day. So if you miss today's, I'll be uploading the new one, and I don't want you to miss the tracer for today. So go ahead and click that, get the tracer, and I'll have a brand new doodle for our October Doodle A Day tomorrow. So I hope you'll join me, and I will see you then. God bless you guys.